Hi girls, so this is lesson number 3 on geometry, and as we have discovered that we now know how to recognize the various types of angles, we now know how to label the angles or name them. So today's lesson is going to be on estimating the measurement of angles and also being able to measure angles. So as we've confirmed already that angles are usually measured in degrees. And as before, when we write an actual measurement, when we're saying to find the length of a line segment, we use these symbols here. So up until now, when we're kind of labeling an angle, we just say that it was angle BAC or something like that. But now if we're talking about the measurement of an angle or showing the actual measurement, so say look what we have here. We do have angle BAC, but now what we can also say is that angle BAC is equal to 50 degrees. Okay, and that's how we'd write it down. Okay, so angle BAC is equal to 50 degrees, and you could also call it CAB. We use a protractor then to measure an angle accurately, right? So in your mathematical set, this is your protractor, okay? So it looks like a kind of a half moon or a semicircle. And however, it is good practice to make an estimate of the angle before using a protractor. Right, so say if we're looking at a protractor, right? You have one that's in your mathematical set. Here's what it looks like, right? So we can see that we have the outside scale. So along here we have the outside scale, which always starts from 0. So if we're measuring an angle from this way, we would go with the outside scale. However, if we're measuring an angle from this side, we go with the inside scale because it has to start at 0, okay? And the baseline is along here, right? So this is where you would put your baseline along here, if you're measuring an angle, to help you kind of even it up a bit, and you would draw or you'd measure your angle then. And that's your center point. The center point would go in conjunction with the corner of the angle, okay, where the angle is. Okay? So let's look. First of all, let's look at these, right? It says estimate and measure the angles ABC and PQR. Okay, so let's look at ABC, right? Or we can also call that CBA. Remember, whatever letter is in the middle up here corresponds with where the angle is. Okay, so what can we say this? So what type of an angle is it? Is it an obtuse? Is it an acute? Is it a reflex? It is an acute, isn't it? It's less than 90 degrees. Okay, what else could we estimate to be? Right, so let's think what we'll come up with. So we'll estimate that angle ABC, or you could call it CBA as I said, is about 50 degrees. Now let's look at this one here. Sorry, what kind of angle is this? This is angle PQR, or you could call it RQP. Again, the letter that's in the middle up here corresponds to where the angle is. So it's not reflex. So we're talking about this angle in here. It's not acute. It's actually obtuse, isn't it? Because it's greater than 90, but less than 180 or less than a straight line. So we'll say it's approximately 120 degrees. So then what we do is we get my protractor, right? Now, do you see the way you line up the protractor? So you put the corner or the center point beside the corner of the letter that's with the angle, and you put your baseline along here. Now we're going from here to here. So you never start at 180. You'd always start at 0. Okay, so you'd always start at 0. So we go from 0 all the way up and just up to the line and mark off our point. So what did they get this to be? Got it to be about 48 degrees, right? So you weren't too far off, right? Our estimate wasn't too far off. Okay, the next one then, let's bring up our protractor over here, right? So again, we're measuring from right to left, okay? So we're using the inside scale again, because you never start at 180, you always start at 0. So you go from 0 all the way up to your point. Don't forget your center point is in the middle here. And we're getting about 130 for that. So they got 130 degrees, which is not too far off, okay? So that is estimating and measuring angles, right? So we've got angle ABC then to be 48 degrees, and we've got angle we should say PQR. Apologies for that. I'll change that there. So that should say PQR. They're forever making mistakes in these PowerPoints. So PQR. So now we have the exact measurements of the angles. And as I said, it's always good to make an estimate first of all. Okay, I'm going to do a few more examples. Okay, so the first example here, right, and you could take these down and just look at them. So we're estimating and measuring angles, and it's lesson number 3 in geometry. Right, so the first thing I'm going to do is going to name the type of triangle, right? So it's an obtuse, isn't it? We can see that straight away. So it's an obtuse angle, and it is angle EFG or GFE. So EFG. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to estimate. So estimate what the measurement would be. Okay, so I'm going to say that, right, remember for an obtuse angle that it's greater than 90 but less than 180. So say I'm going to say maybe about 125 degrees. So estimate is 125 degrees, okay? Then what I do is I'll get my protractor, right? So remember I line it up and I put it at the corner, put my baseline, put it at the corner where the angle is, put my baseline down. I'm going all into the inside scale. Remember, you never start in 180, but because my angle is going from its rotation in this direction, I go from here to here all the way up to meet my point, and it's about 134. Okay, so it's about 134. You can see there, can't you? So 134. So the actual is 134 degrees. So it's not too far off, okay? Let's go to our second example. Right, so what do we have here? What type of an angle is it? Right, so we'll name it. So it is less than 90 degrees, isn't it? So it is acute. And we'll call it angle. So we'll say acute angle, and we'll call it angle HIJ. So HIJ. So that's what you use when you're calling it. But say when you're doing the measurement, so we'll say measurement of angle EFG. Angle EFG. So we're doing that over here. So we're going to do my estimate is, so we'll say maybe 75, right? 75 degrees of, we'll say, angle HIJ. And we use those. And let's get my actual now with my protractor. So the actual is, so again, we line up my protractor. So we'll put it at the corner, right? So your little center point goes with your center of your angle, your baseline, and we're going from right to left again because that's where the direction of the arms are rotating. So remember, it's on the baseline, center point. So it is about, I'd say, what can we see here? I'd say about 61 degrees, okay? So 61 degrees. So it's not too far off again, okay? So not too far off again. Maybe my estimates could be a bit better, right? Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is get you to draw angles ABC, which is 95 degrees, and angles DEF, which is 155 degrees. So the first thing I would do is, right, I draw a line. Now, I'm just going to put down the phone for a second because I can't seem to do it all at the same time. I need to get a holder for this. Okay, so you just draw a baseline, and let's think of where the angle is beside. It's beside the letter B, right? So we're going to mark this B. Okay, and say we'll mark this C here. Okay, and then we're going to be drawing 95 degrees, right? So what you do is get your protractor, line it up, right, with your center point, which is beside where the angle should be, and your baseline then should be fairly straightforward. Now I'm going to draw my angle from here to here, or you could go from here to here, but because it's a little bit off the copy here, I'm going to go from right to left and I go on my inside scale. So it's about 95, so go all the way up. Here's 95, mark a point. Okay, then get your protractor and you will line it up, right? So you'll draw a line then from here to here with your pen. Okay, so I'm just going to do that there. And we'll mark that other corner or point A. Apologies. This should be A, B, C, because this is C down here. We have 95 degrees. So do you see that it's kind of bigger than a right angle? It's slightly slanted because that's what the measurement I'm looking for. Okay, so now over here what I'm going to draw is angle DEF, and it's going to be 155 degrees. So this was an obtuse angle, and this is also an obtuse angle. Okay, so I'm going to draw that for you now. Okay, so the first thing I would do is draw my baseline, and let's look at where the angle should lie beside what letter. It should be beside letter E. So this would be E, and I'll say F is down here. And then I'm going to get my protractor and I'm going to measure 155, okay? So remember, line my protractor up. The center point goes with the point that's beside where the angle should be. My baseline should be straightened up. I'm going to go from 0 over 2 and use my inside scale because I never start with 180. So let's go from 0 all the way over to 155. Oh, sugar. Line that up again. And 155 is about here, so we mark a point. Okay, and we mark that point then D. So what we have now is DEF being 155 degrees. Okay, so that's just your brief lesson then on estimating, first of all, and drawing angles, which I know some of you have come across already, but just being really careful at measuring them, drawing them, and I suppose be careful with scales that you're using, okay? And also remember that the notation, the difference between, I suppose, when you're naming an angle, you don't use the straight lines. So this is angle EFG. But if you're measuring the angles, this would be straight lines, angle EFG, right? Because that shows it's kind of like the length or the length of the angle or the measurement or the size of the angle, okay? Because you'll be using that for the length of a line segment, so you're also using it now for the size of the angle. And then when you're drawing them, just be careful, draw your baseline first, doesn't have to be too long. Mark in the letter beside whatever your whatever letter's in the middle here, because that goes beside the angle. And then just start off by lining up your protractor with your baseline and your center point, and going, if you're going from left to right, then you'll be starting from the outside scale. But if you're going from right to left here, you'll be starting with the inside scale. Okay.